Oh, this is your Noocracy rep, Adam Alexander Brisbane. I have toppled the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and I have created a one nation continent. It's 2022, and I am now king of the continent. We left the Union in 2014 during the Obama administration. Cascadia left the Union from the United States in the Pacific Northwest because the United States failed to understand or uphold our basic rights, our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They didn't understand basic rights for 2.5 centuries, so we had a situation where everyone in the world was a moron but me for 2.5 centuries, and I am left to educate you all that you're all morons, that you fail to understand basic rights. So, what that means is no cop should have ever blown anyone's head off under the guise of self-defense when representing the government. It means that no governor should have ever allowed execution, and you should have all had your babies at term. It's a big flub. It's a doozy for the U.S. They cannot recuperate from this kind of screw-up. They have lost their country. There's no way to get it back. Their prison industrial complex is just too large. It's too corrupt. It's too privatized. You have to resolve this by starting a new country like I did. But I am here to tell you, as it's a new type of government where the majority now vote for a leader based on intelligence rather than popularity. This is not a democracy, but a noocracy republic. What that means is we want the most intelligent leader, the most competent, intelligent leader to lead us now. And that goes for the whole planet. You have to have somebody who can lead our planet and protect it from the human race itself, as we're living in an idiocracy, much like the movie. We're a world full of morons. If you didn't understand basic rights, if you didn't understand your own country for 2.5 centuries, and you had that many babies, you are living in an idiocracy where everyone is a moron. And their coping mechanisms are to make fun of the intelligent rather than to understand them, so that when they come across me, I will be made fun of. And I am the most intelligent person on earth. So I have consolidated all leadership for humanity itself. I have consolidated, in particular, all military leadership, because you're not going to have peace on earth unless you have a hippie, so to speak, who actually thinks the Iron Mountain way as well. So you have to have someone who can fill both roles, who understands military strategy as well as what it takes to attain peace, long-term peace for everyone. And what this means is that we have to consolidate our power. It is irrational to have multiple nations with nuclear weapons, and it's a very embarrassing situation for all humanity, as we already have multiple nations with super weapons. And this is called fractured leadership. What it leads to is doomsday. What it leads to is some moron with their finger near the button. Okay? So, morons were never supposed to have nuclear weapons. Now you have multiple nations that want to protect their national identity. And they will use the bomb to protect their national identity. And we have to now question nationalism itself because of this. Because national egotism and national pride could lead to our international destruction. So what is the rational thing to do? What I have done and what will not be respected by the powers that be, as they all want to retain and keep their leadership. Of course, they want to have their own leadership. But all this is irrational if you consult with any of the highest intellects of the planet. You will realize that if you don't consolidate all leadership into rational, competent hands, that it's going to lead to mutually assured destruction. You can't afford or allow polarity to flourish on this planet. If we allow our Cold War to turn into a hot war, if we allow our ramblings and our saber rattling to get the best of us, if one of our national leaders decides to push the button, we're all screwed. And that makes for a very, very, very volatile planet. It's a world that you can't afford. You know how beautiful it is. You know how good we have it. This is our only planet. We have no other options. Our behavior matters. And when you come to me, I'm going to tell you the truth that we have overfished the ocean. We have been behaving in a way where we're ripping off nature in a way that is unsustainable. And our oil spills are going to get the best of us if we continue down this path, and our radiological contamination of the world is going to continue, and you're going to have more and more incidents like Fukushima, where the ocean is contaminated for future generations endlessly. So when you have this many nuclear reactors, over 800 plus, around the world, that is part of the idiocracy. Einstein said that it's a hell of a way to boil water. What he was really trying to say is that nuclear is a bad idea. And it is. It's a bad idea for energy. And here I personally have created free energy, not once but twice, for all of you to enjoy. My way to fight the good fight is to have a better alternative than big oil, than nuclear. Because these are things we have to get rid of. We have to get rid of them to be responsible on this planet. And we have to overcome our insatiable lust for plastic, or at least we need to alter it to become biodegradable. Because when we create this specific garbage patch in the ocean, that contributes to
the jellyfish taking over in the aftermath of our overfishing. And that leads to a planet of hypoxia, where we have too little oxygen. What will end up happening is we're going to have a colder and colder planet, and we're not going to be able to handle the next ice age. And you're going to be living in cities in the idiocracy where they still make skyscrapers that are irrational. And you end up with tunnels of snow and everyone running their cars and their generators. Well, this ends up killing cities, city after city, because they die of carbon monoxide poisoning in their snow tunnels. So to avert that kind of future, we have to change how our cars run, right? And not just going in cars and making roadkill everywhere anymore. We actually take flight after 100 years of flight and quit being stubborn about it. We need to think of the future. We see the evolution of cities in China a little bit, how they have their era of cars and their era of bicycles, and eventually the bicycles turn into a giant pile somewhere, and they no longer have bicycles in the city, and they try to go towards having a pedestrian type city. And this is what we all want to just jump forward to. We leap past cars, we leap past bicycles to a pedestrian friendly city in every city. Not that we have to have every city be the same. Certainly it would be nice to have some cities that are horse cities where there are only horses. But being more pedestrian friendly is something that we all want for multiple reasons, especially socially. If we put everything into our cars, we're setting a bad example to our children. If half of the average income is to go into the car, if half of us will be in a serious auto accident, it is irrational to continue to drive them like we do, thinking that that is normal. We're idiots on a grand scale. It's such a grand scale. When we get rich as celebrities, we buy multiple expensive cars, and we just contribute more and more to this runaway car culture that is having an effect on nature itself. We create roads that are unnecessary, you see. We don't even need roads anymore. And we can allow nature to flourish a little bit again. If we continue down this path, we will pave over everything and make a grid of pavement over all of the land. And that's just what we do. When we make a city, we just make concrete everywhere. And this is just soaking up heat. You're just soaking up heat around the planet. And you're pumping out oil burning plants. So we have an issue as humanity. We like to burn things. And we do it irreverently. We do it in a way that is just around the clock. Humanity is burning shit. And when you drive your car, when you turn that key, you're turning on your firebox, your 24/7 fire beast, and your Burning Man festival, and you're having your burning effigies, and it's all run amok. You see, we're just going to burn everything, and random refugees are throwing paper on fire around at random. So you have to have a respect for the land, that it's not right to have teenagers throwing smoke bombs, and that you can't question or sue or anything. It's bad to have Apache helicopters with laser beams roasting your new country, because I need to stop arson on this continent. In the face of humanity itself, we like to burn shit. Okay? When we make the tokamak, we like to burn shit. In my mind, as the world's highest mind, I see it as irrational to make a second sun on Earth, to make that much heat. We're going to have a problem with overheating anyway in the future. We're going to have a problem with temperature in general. The fluctuations between high and low. So when they talk about climate change, they no longer talk about global warming. It's climate change now, because it is also low temperatures that you need to fear. It is high winds that you need to fear. And when we are just burning shit around the clock with no hinting that we're going to ever change our behavior, this just sends the message that you have let leadership run too loose. You have old people now who are just still in their older years, trying to rip everybody off in their capitalist society, born and bred to make money, born and bred to put money above everything, even the family unit itself. Our parents were not proud of us unless we were a doctor or a lawyer so we could make money. Being poor is being irresponsible to them. They want to have a good life, and they're very selfish, and they will do many vacations off your dead quadriplegic brother's money when he dies. But you have to be more like I was. You have to take care of your quadriplegic brother, and you have to keep your families together. You have to try to. And it's a world that just spits on everything that's good when no one's looking. It will just it will piss on your grave, no matter how good you are. Because everyone is a psychopath just trying to make money at the expense of everyone else. So when you do that on a daily basis, when that's all you do, I make money. Like, I am an entrepreneur. What you're saying to me is that you have no identity. You have built nothing for yourself in life, and all you like to do is screw other people over. Really, that's what capitalism is. If you're not making Keystone, you're just not getting ahead, as my dad might have put it. Now, being a good businessman doesn't care, that kind of lifestyle, that doesn't necessarily put family and relationships into perspective when all you think about is making money. When all you think about is your business, you're putting everything else on the side. And that's what's wrong with people who are rich. They will find that they are suffering in life, in their relationships later on, as they put everything into making money. And they are basically corrupt individuals. They breed corruption, and they breed their corruption into lobbyists in government and into Congress, so that they will get a bill passed that benefits their corporation. So it's a country, the United States, is for and by not the people, but the corporations now. It's the corporations that matter to Congress, the people behind the corporations. So this is not beneficial to our future, as all corporations are psychopaths and sociopaths hell-bent on meeting the bottom line for themselves. It's not necessarily about the people. It's about some CEO and his and whatever he wants. So to be responsible as an adult, as a parent, you have to topple the US government, and that's not easy. Doing so makes you kind of weird, makes you kind of an alien. You're not normal anymore. And women who try to fit in so much, fit into a society that overshadows their children, that puts corruption above their children, when Big Pharma and the vaccine industry get its feelers into big government. You now have this vaccine industry pumping its needles into my babies, who are the future. If you have poor parenting, my children are not safeguarded. If you have a woman that doesn't respect her man when he's starting a new country because of all these things, who's trying to be normal, a normal American, you are only supporting the beast that puts corruption above my children. So how can you do that? You monster, America. What have become you? You have lost your way, and not only that, you've become malicious to my life. And all I want is a happy family. All I want is to be a good dad in the face of your Jerry Springer sideshow. I am royalty. I am intellectual royalty. I am a royal person. And you can't just piss on that for the rest of my life. I am the highest mind on earth, and I have been since I was 36 years old. And I can see that it's not in your best interest to piss on the world's highest mind. That's only going to get you fuddy-duddy leaders who don't understand basic rights. Even more, that's only going to get you women who still no longer love men, no longer respect the family unit. What we want is traditional women. We want a woman that respects the man and fulfills her role as a woman, as a mother, to keep the family together in the face of all odds. in the face of big, greedy government, in the face of a debaucherous celebrity culture. I want you to have solid Cascadian women now that respect the man of the household and that stick with their man for their children, that don't do everything just for themselves, because we've seen what the Western woman is doing. She's destroying the family. This hookup culture and this hoism needs to stop. Someone has to stop it. Some man has to finally be respected when all men are put into a cage for life for choosing the mate of their desire. Some man out there has to finally be royalty, has to finally matter, because they're pissing on my grave while I'm alive. They're running roughshod over me, the women, the government, as you would expect. When I am leader of the world army, Russia invades Ukraine. Even Russia is running roughshod over my leadership. Now, Putin calls it genocide. I need to understand why he calls it that, because we all stand against genocide. I am not a big fan of ethnic cleansing in any way. And if NATO is proliferating that to you, I need to understand why. I am post-NATO in my generation. We can't afford that polarity between NATO and SCO nations. We can't afford the end of the world. We see that as dumb. That is dumb. The Cold War, brooding to a boil, is dumb. We have to come together as humans. We're humans on planet Earth. The Earth is our starship now. That's the way we look at it. That's the way I want my children to look at it. Because when we allow our territorialism, our borders, to be so heavy, to get between us as people, to hurt us, when we see other people on the other side of the fence hurting, needing food and shelter, we can't just stand by idly any longer. Our borders and our fences and our barriers between us, our nationalism, our racism, all these things that divide us as humanity, need to come crumbling down. Much like the Berlin Wall, these things are naturally going to come down. No matter how big you build your wall, Trump, it's going to come down. And you just have to see that that is the reality. That's the reality. The bigger your wall, the bigger your fence, the more it's going to come down. And you just can't build these barriers between us any longer. That's the old way of thinking. We share the land now. We share this continent. We're going back to Chief Seattle philosophy before the Western man conquered it with Columbus. We're going back to pre-colonial era. This is the Great Reset. If you piss on the Great Reset, the real one, it's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you any fans.